Hi, this is Cody Thompson. I am a senior student, and this is my final project for biology. Um, Today, I will be discussing Columbus, Nebraska, and how to include wildlife and more nature into the town of Columbus, Nebraska. Columbus, Nebraska is my hometown in Platte County. Its population is 24,000 plus. It is 47 miles west of Fremont. Columbus, Nebraska is the 10th largest town in Nebraska. It has 3 high schools, 2 public, 1 private. It is known for the amount of manufacturing companies and factories that they have. A lot of welding going on in that town, more than most towns that I've been in Nebraska. Most people just work in factories. For natural resources, it's kind of hard to tell in this picture, but there's about 10 to 12 lakes in this town, not all accessible to the public, but for the most part, most of them are. Here's a little bit better view. We have 2 rivers, the Platte and the Loup, and then the canal that connects from Lake Babcock, and it goes down into the Loop. I fish at a lot of these lakes often, and there's a lot of different spots in Columbus. It's not that common in most cities to have this many bodies of water, and I think that these bodies of water would be a great source of food if we were to bring in more wildlife and nature into the town, because there's already so much water to eat from and such. For available food as well, there is cornfields, bean fields, and obviously grass and such like that around Columbus. We have a lot of farming going on because we're obviously in Nebraska. There are not a lot of trees in Columbus. I remember growing up when, maybe my opinion's different from others, but I remember driving through Omaha, seeing all the trees and such. It seems like there's a lot of trees in Omaha for being a city, and there's just not that many trees in Columbus for some reason. Cover for wildlife versus urban life in Columbus, Nebraska. I would say it's about 40 cover for wildlife, 60 urban. It's not that great of a ratio, but it definitely could be better. There's a lot of opportunity to make it better, and that's what I have wrote about today. There are about 10 parks. 10 parks that could be like safe havens. We do have quite a few geese that live in Columbus. Obviously squirrels, rabbits, deer every once in a while on the edges of town. A great variety of fish in Columbus with all the lakes. Before the bypass was built, that is the road that says Lost Creek Parkway. There was actually no roads right there, and it would have been a lot easier to do this project if that had not been made, but I attempted to come up with some ideas and such that would help. One thing that I thought that I didn't really put on the map because it would be difficult to put that on every single house, but one way that I thought that already kind of started in Columbus, they planted community gardens in a low-income neighborhood, and I think it's really cool. There's just these gardens, and it's a bunch of fresh food, and I think that's pretty cool. That's a way that you could bring in more wildlife, because obviously gardeners hate it, but that it's food that attracts wildlife into the garden. And I think it would just be cool if we made that mandatory in Columbus. That'd be a great way to bring in wildlife is make it mandatory to have a garden in your backyard if you had the resources and funds. Obviously, if you're dead broke, we would not make that mandatory. And then we could make not every lake, obviously, because that would be unfair to the public that likes to fish. But we can make this Lake Esther protected. Lake Esther is a pretty good fishing lake, but its population fluctuates very heavily in the summertime, and it gets really hard to fish about a month into the summer because everyone fishes it out. And we could protect it by just not fishing it at all, and just letting it be a lake, and that could grow wildlife there and vegetation that we haven't seen in a while because it's just a lake sitting there. Whoops. And you can't really see it on this map, but next thing we could do is there's this large grass / cornfield in between the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church, and this Brookstone Acres. It's actually quite a bit of land, and I've always thought it was just a waste of space in the middle of town. I thought we could make it into a protected forest wildlife habitat in the middle of town, and just buy it from the farmer. I don't know if that's allowed in this project, but we could just buy it from the farmer. Plant a bunch of trees, kind of make it like a protected area. Don't put any concrete or anything in it for people to walk through. It would be open to the public, but there would be no concrete, cement or anything. And plant trees there. Lay down fresh soil because it's been farmed for so long, I guess. And just let it do its thing. And then watch nature take over in that area of town. I think that would be pretty cool. These, I guess I should have went to this right away, but these are all the lakes in Columbus. You can see. You got the canal, the lake, the lakes. Lake Babcock is really big. I don't know if that's obvious or not, but it's pretty big for a lake in Columbus. Another idea I had was to get rid of fences. Fences kind of slow down the movement of animals such as deer, or I guess deer's probably the one that it slows down the most. So we get rid of territorial fences. Obviously we would keep up the fences that hold in animals such as cattle and pig. Another thing that we could do would be to get rid of a lot of street light pollution and such on 23rd Street. That's our main street, and there's a lot of lights there, and you can see the lighting from miles away, about 7 miles actually. And I think we could get rid of some lights, not all of them, to free up some light pollution that keeps animals away. And we could also start doing kind of like the garden idea. We could start doing compost piles, making people have compost piles in their yards, because that's good for the environment, the soil. It's enriching to the soil, and it also would attract animals as a food source. Not that it's the greatest food source because it is rotten food, but that's just another way that we could attract them. A way that we could think about developing cities in the future is from like what we've seen before, the vertical gardens in the city, so that they don't take up space horizontally. because space is expensive, and if you do it vertically, it takes up less space. And that is pretty much all I have.